A question. What better exordium to any kind of dialogue, conversation, discussion than a question? Then let's start this book review with one. What is a quack? Have you ever heard of this curious word before? Well, if you haven't, let me present you this fascinating, shocking as well book. Whether you like it or not, I do not at all. Here's some boring infos about it we need to mention. Quackery, a brief history of the worst ways to cure everything, has been first published on October 17th, 2017 by Lydia Kang and Pedersen. Now let's move further in what its writers wanted to actually bring to light, so let me give you some hints. Well, as the title evokes, here you find the vademecum, a rich syllabus of what earlier in history quacks used to cure everything. Back to our question, I know you're still confused about what a quack is. Then, I guess you'll be pleased to hear some of these words' synonyms. A charlatan, a fraudulent, a cheater person. Here's what a quack is. What's to be highlighted though is that this vocable is often linked to the medical field. In this particular case then, we will say that a quack is someone who pretends to have some sort of medical knowledge, and not only that, they will apply their claims so, quote-unquote, great abilities to heal diseases, most of the times to get notoriety and or very financial gain. Now, I would say, let's not consider this book just a mere compilatory description of these quacks' outrageous actions. Let's make this book a shouting voice for all the victims of all these unethical, consciously wrong attempts of cure. However, there is something which could help us making this story a little bit less dramatic. Let's think about the victims not only as such, also as sacrifices. Lots of the horrific treatments applied on them eventually have led to effective medical treatments, so their suffering and, in worst cases, deaths have not to be considered vain. At this point, I know you'll be wondering what these charlatans came out with to earn some money, what elements they presented their patients to convince them they'd be finally free from their pain. Their promises of cure must have been so persuasive, you'll be thinking. Well, you're right. Let me give you some examples. Back in history, quacks used mercury, antimony, gold, tobacco, alcohol, bloodletting, cannibalism, corpse medicine, electricity, animal magnetism, and I won't go any further. You know, the inhabitants of the nowadays world wouldn't believe a word from these then so-called doctors. But back then, the knowledge in the medical field was so poor and elite that it wasn't that hard to prescribe atypical bizarre therapies. Hence, let's not blame the poor victims. Even the most erudite man could be fooled by these evil, smart cheaters. Even more so if the cure prescribed by your trusted physician involves some tempting, sparkly drugs. Let's talk about gold, as I mentioned, for example. Not all the glitter is gold, they said. Well, this time it was gold, it glittered, but it didn't bribe people's health at all. They used to call drinkable gold as a drug, immortality in a glass. So who would be so fool to refuse the feeling of happiness in the heart and indestructibility? Who would be so fool to accept gold as a drug, you'll be wondering. Again, let's not blame people back then. Think about dying just from stomach issues or suffering hardly from an innocent but drugs-needing headache. It's no wonder if everyone, or Almost everyone, fortunately, believed that one quack who promised them the so wanted cure, the so wanted pain relief. You know, a poison is not a poison in the hands of a physician.